In today's Dream Rides, we take a trip to the West Coast to the OPG Classic Car Show at Seal Beach. Let's take a look at some gems of yesteryear in this week's episode.
Welcome to the Original Parts Group annual car show here in lovely Seal Beach, California. It's a beautiful Saturday down here, and we got hundreds and hundreds of some of the most awesome cars you're gonna ever see. Chevelles, El Caminos, Cadillacs, GTOs, Grand Prix, Rivieras, we got them all. We're gonna have a great time today. We got the Lions Club making breakfast. They're gonna be here a little bit later doing some lunch. We're gonna have a great raffle, a lot of opportunities there to win even a motor. We're gonna be giving away a motor. So welcome you all, and come see all the great cars. This is our 8th annual show that we're doing. We typically do our show every year in the spring. It kind of kicks off the car show season. And really for Original Parts Group, it's the day for us to give back. You know, get everybody out here, show off the cars, their labor of love, all the work they're doing, and just have a good time. So that's why we do this event.
This car's owner is aptly named since this ride is a work of art.
I was in the Air Force at March Air Force Base. I was stationed there in '66, got discharged in 1967, and went home to Detroit, Michigan. And I dated this young lady, and I couldn't get my mind off her, and I wanted to come back. So we came back. I came back to California in 1968, and I had a car, and it's funny, the car I had was stolen. I got a good job at Southern California Gas Company, lost the job and lost my apartment. In 3 days, lost everything. But it's funny how things in life turn around. Shortly thereafter, they totaled my car in Riverside, and we went to the Chevrolet dealership in Riverside, tried to buy a Chevelle, and my wife said, let's go across the street to the Pontiac dealer. I bought it September 27th, 1968. She picked it out.
In 1969, we got married, and we actually went on our honeymoon in this car. And we have the picture over there to prove that we did that. We ended up getting the Hong Kong flu. So actually, I pretty much was the force behind this. And now I love it. And he talks retirement, and he talks car shows, and I talk racing.
That's when our racing career started in 1970. And then I raced at Riverside on a monthly basis, and I had this big desire to go race at Pomona. And so I did everything I could, and I called a company called HO Racing that was really big into Pontiacs out of Lawndale, California. Wrote them a letter, and they said they'd be willing to work with me, and we started making this car NHRA legal to race in super stock. At that time was I-Automatic. And my first race at Pomona in 1974, I raced in super stock I-Automatic. 20 years later, I won the Winter Nationals with this car.
Next up is a Pontiac that defies the norm for its model.
It's got a 421. When I purchased it from the original owner, he'd had some problems with the original 389 and had somebody else put in a 421, and I did a few more things to it and had the heads ported out and put the tri-power in a different cam. So what you see now is something that I've had a transition from the time that I purchased it about 7.5, 8 years ago. They're two-barrel Demons, and I think they're out of business now, but it's a great unit. The car just runs phenomenal with that setup. Tires I found, I've been looking for a while. They're made by Diamondback back east. They take the BF Goodrich, they shave the side down, and they vulcanize the red line in. So it's a modern BF Goodrich. It's wide, gives it an old school look, but a modern handling effect. It's the original colors, marimba red. It was painted by Mahoods in Stanton.
How long has he had this classic?
Almost 8 years, and the majority of the restoration work was done by Burton Classics, Bill Burton in Stanton, California.
Our next car's brightest feature can't be missed. What's that color?
It's the House of Color Lime Time Green over a silver base. It was done about a year ago by a place out in San Fernando Valley. from the front up, we sandblasted everything down to bare metal. And from the doors back, two guys probably spent the good part of a month just blocking it down, down to bare metal as well. I guess this makes a bold statement. I'm a little more low-key than this, but I do love this thing. It's a great car, big boat, driving down the freeway, get all sorts of looks and everything, and I think that's what I always wanted. I always wanted just a big, massive car that barely fits in a garage. It's on Air Ride. I got the Ride Tech suspension, and it's all done through the AccuAir programming and management, and then it's all controlled through my iPad on the inside. It's just it was a rebuilt 429. It's a numbers matching car. I did an MSD ignition setup on it, and the MSD atomic fuel injection as well. So I'm getting about 15 miles a gallon now out of this thing. A client of mine had this car, and it was pretty much in the state it was in now. Needed a little fixing, wasn't running right, and we took it. We were starting to work on it, and he called us up and said, you know, I really like the extra room I have in my garage now. And my wife says I'm not a pimp anymore. So if you know anybody that wants to buy it, you know, I'll sell the car. And I said, yeah, I'll buy it. And he threw me a number, and we made an incredible deal. And I basically stole the car. I love it. I drive it all the time, and now I live in Huntington Beach. The weather's never bad there, so I never put the top up unless I wash it.
Coming up, a racing champion tells us what it takes to win on the drag strip. This edition of Dream Rides is being brought to you by Flowmaster, the exhaust technology company. Precision Turbo, a leader in turbocharger technology for street and race applications. Steel Rubber, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. Welcome back to Seal Beach, where it's classic cars all in a row. This Chevelle's owner managed to regain a lost piece of his youth.
When I was a kid, I had a 1970 Chevelle SS L78 396 car, and couldn't hang on to it because the insurance was so high back in the day. And so I told my wife after I retired, I swore I'd have another one, and here she is, my garage queen. Besides the color combination, it's pretty close to original stock specs. It was built and came out of Van Nuys. It's got a period correct block. It's an LS5 block. It does have some build-up parts in it. It's got L. Brock aluminum heads painted over in Chevy orange, but it's pretty much how they were in 1970, as close as I could get it. A few minor adjustments after I got the car. It was in Tacoma, they zero out the mileage when they restore these cars, so it had very few miles when I bought it. And I'm still in the process of dialing the car in. It was missing a few pieces like the flywheel cover. I bought that here at OPG. The right side mirror didn't have it. My other car had it, so I had to have it on this one. Had to replace one of the chrome fender well strips. It had a little ding in it that I couldn't live with, so I replaced that. When I got the car, it came with a MSD ignition, which I didn't really like. It wasn't period correct, so I had that pulled out, put an HEI in it, replaced it with that. Few other parts like that, a fuel pump, a water pump, some minor things. I pretty much want to keep it as close to original stock specs as I can. It does have the period correct radio. However, when the car was restored, for whatever reason, the speakers weren't hooked up to it. So that's going to be like one of the very last things I do to it, is the tunes to it. But like I said, I'm really not interested in putting a CD player or anything like that, because I like rolling history. A lot of my car buds, they ask me, when am I going to get rid of the skinny tires and put some big tires on it? But this is how it came, this is how I want it. It's rolling history, and that's how I want it to be. The biggest thing is, very flattered, OPG approached me last year at the Chevelle show in Los Alamitos, asked me if I'd be interested in letting my car be the cover car for this year, and lo and behold, here it is. All my car buds, they're all asking me, we want one of the catalogs now, so now I've got to get a lot of catalogs for them.
What did it take to win those trophies? We're about to find out.
It's a 1967 Chevelle Malibu. I've owned it for about 15 years and kind of went up the ranks with the car. I originally was running in the 12s and just slowly over the years, you know, built it up. It's got a 437-inch small block in it with an Edelbrock intake. Got a Hughes Monster glide in it, 4 9-inch rear end. The car is capable of running 980s, 990s, but I do run an index with it, 1050 index, so I do slow the car down a little bit, but it's got Mickey Thompson wheels and slicks on the back, so it runs pretty good. It's done me well. My sponsor, Lucas Oil, it's been a great company. I've been part of Lucas Oil for real close to 10 years. I race under the Lucas Oil umbrella. I'm also a distributor for Lucas Oil, as well as do a lot of promotional stuff for them. Lucas Oil, the MAP TV, the Protect the Harvest, the whole big group of people are just great. I mean, Lucas has done so much for just everybody, and it's just great to be a part of that. I've been running the NMCA since it came out here on the West Coast, and this last year was probably the best year of drag racing I've had. Obviously, to win a championship is everybody's goal, and it happened after basically 40 years of drag racing, on and off, but to win the championship in the NMCA West and get the championship Wally, I mean, that's just great stuff. I mean, I can't imagine anything else. You know, we got a championship ring and a nice jacket, and we don't do it for the money, obviously, but get the contingency checks coming in from all these different companies, so it's all, you know, it's always fun. Those are 2 event Wallies. Actually, it took me, I had to win those 2 event Wallies to get the championship Wally. I was going into the last 2 races way down in points. I had just a slim chance. The guy in first place had to go out first round at the last 2 events, and I had to win the last 2 events to win the championship, and it all happened. So, I mean, I am truly blessed.
Coming up, 2 more front cover honors are awarded to 2 lucky gearheads. Welcome back to Seal Beach, which might have been better named Sail Beach. The owner of this Cadillac got to fulfill a childhood dream when he found it.
I grew up when I was younger, I couldn't afford a Cadillac. And there was this car painter, Larry Watson, who had a 62. And I loved his car. I've always wanted one since, and when I seen this one come up, it was reasonable, but you have to put money in it to make it look nice. So I sent it up north to have it painted and have the guy do it and that, and he did a beautiful job, and you know.
What all did you do?
Pay the money. Actually, it was all original when I sent it up to him, and he took it apart and painted it and did most of the work. The only thing we didn't really do is detail the motor yet, and that needs to be done. But it's a fun driver. We've driven it to San Diego, Temecula, and Hesperia, all over. Just watch where you drive, you know, so that you don't chip the paint. I did soon come to a show, have the people enjoy the car like I enjoyed it. Winning a trophy's great, don't get me wrong, but it's nice to have people enjoy it. That's more of a trophy to me than winning one.
How about being on the cover of a catalog?
That was sort of neat. I was unexpected. We took a photo shoot in, I think it was December, around Christmas time, and yeah, it was fun. And people, if they enjoy it, I enjoy it. That's what it's all about.
This Pontiac Bonneville found its owner because he dared to be different.
Well, I was looking for a car to do, and everybody's got Chevys. I didn't want one of those. So a friend of mine up in Washington had this car. I told him, I said, you ever want to sell that thing? I want to buy it. A few years later, he called me up, hey, you still want to buy that Pontiac? I said, yes. I had drove it for a year. My wife drove it back and forth to work, and then rebuilt the motor in 389 with a tri-power. Plenty of power. I can beat almost anybody the first 2 years. It's lowered, and I've got 16-inch wheels on it. Everything else is original. Power steering, power brakes. Power steering is a little slow compared to today. So you gotta watch what you're doing. That's Coronado Red, the original color. My upholstery guy, I had a book, one of the old books that you get out of the showroom floor, mix and match the colors. He took that book and matched the colors of the seats perfectly. My aftermarket record player, a light bar, vibrasonic, mainly for parking.
Coming up, the history of Original Parts Group, the host of the event. This edition of Dream Rides is being brought to you by Aeromotive. We know it, we race it, we live it. B&M Racing and Performance, quality performance products that work. Steel Rubber, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. We're back at Seal Beach, where the Gearheads get very territorial. So what's the story behind Original Parts Group? The CEO tells it all.
A lot of our parts are on all these cars today. We're very proud of that. My personal favorite is originality. We are here to preserve the cars as if they were on the showroom floor the year that they were produced. Automotive's in the blood of the family. My father had a battery recycling business. Maybe 25% of the batteries were good. We'd restore them, thus the restoration angle. My hat's off to my older brother, Jeff. He was a pioneer in the restoration market with the Camaros and all that. And I pretty much followed suit on my own. I was pulling used parts off of wrecks and bringing them to the swap meet. I guess we became a manufacturer around 1986, 87. You know, it's been a long road. It's not really an overnight success story, but the rest is history, and now we find ourselves with 100,000 plus square foot building, and you know, we have the rights to, I would say, 15,000 different tools that we've produced over 30 years. You know, we try to maintain our integrity and our good name in the industry. I mean, we're all about service and we're all about quality, and you know, it takes a lot of work to put all those pieces together. But at the end of the day, you have to be a company that is customer-centric. You can't just be driven by internal analytics. We are helping to preserve American history.
Next up, a paint job with sentimental value.
Why did I pick the color? It should be the '69 Camaro Hugger Orange. I had an orange truck back in the late '70s, and I sold that off to go family, buy a van. Then later on, I didn't need the van. I wanted to go back to a truck. My son originally broke down the car with his friends and then left the project, sat in the garage for 10 years as he finished his life. And so I said, your time limit is up. It's now mine. And so I started working on it, and I put about 18 months into it before I was able to get it back on the road. But being retired left me a lot of time to work on it. I finished it in November 2013, and we've been taking it to weekend car shows ever since. It's a crate motor, a ZZ4 350. 350 horsepower. Transmission is 700 R4 automatic. Goodrich tires, they're 215 17s in the front and 255 17s in the rear, 7-inch and 8-inch in the rear. It's pretty close to finish. I think I might like to do a little more update on the brakes, maybe rear discs on it, maybe some new brake lines, but pretty much I'm done. Boys need trucks. So this was half a truck, half a car.
This Caddy underwent a major transformation.
I've had this car for 12 years. I bought it from Belmont Shores. I was at a car show one day and stepped out of Legends and saw this car down the street, and I picked it up, and it used to be white interior, white top, and it was a Palm Queen's car, and the guy I bought it from was, he lived in the desert. And he passed, and I bought it from his son, so I bought this car from the original owner. Just recently, I sent it up to my friend in Sacramento, and I asked him I said, let's suede this car, Tommy, and Tommy sends it back, and it's silver with scallops on it. He put the tube grill in, too. Stock drivetrain, 429. It's got the 350 automatic transmission, original rear end. Underneath's all original. It's a rust-free car. It's a California desert car, so it's good shape underneath. It's got about 110,000 or maybe 210. It says 11,000, so maybe, you know, I could be off a little bit here or there. Just like driving your couch, you know, you just kind of ooze around, and just a beautiful car. It used to be the dog's car. I got two Rottweiler, I got two Bernese Mountain Dogs, and I got a Rottweiler. And we used to go to the beach in this car, and they ate the back seat. So I mean, it was a fun car. You know, you drive down the road with these 300 pounds worth of dog in the back. That you've got a lot of looks and smiles and stuff like that. So just a beach car, just fun. I was asking about 28,000. I'm dropping it down to around 20 grand because I've got another little something cooking in the garage, you know? A little cash. I needed a little cash to continue on to the next project.
Our last piece was an involuntary family heirloom.
I picked up the car in 1982. My dad found it for me. It was my first car. I actually got it before I was old enough to drive, and it would just sit in my dad's shop, and I just had to stare at it and sit behind it and got to drive it around the block. The day I got my license, my dad said, okay, this is the car. Here are the, you know, the rules of having the car. I had the car all through high school, and when I graduated in '85, I just left it there and got a different car with every intentions of, you know, eventually selling it or getting rid of it. And it just sat in Nebraska at one of my dad's shops. In 2011, when I got back from Afghanistan, I went back home to visit, and my dad literally walked up to me and said, either you get rid of this car or I'm going to get rid of it.
That's all from the Original Parts Group Classic Car Show. Next week, we stick around Seal Beach for our next episode. See you then.